And you can.
Yeah, all
Okay,
good.
welcome to Positivity is the Way to Go. He is a CEO, founder, co-host, Next Level University, Top 100 Podcast, 1,900 plus episodes, 1,000 plus countries, in welcome, and he has 1,000 plus listeners, and then 1 million plus revenue. He's a business coach. Welcome my guest today, Alan Lazaros. How you doing today, man?
What's going on, brother? So, real quick, we just surpassed our 2000th episode last week, and
Okay.
175 countries. There's only 195 countries total, so not 1,000 countries.
Yeah, well,
you
hey,
know,
that
yep,
that must have been a typo error or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, just grateful,
So,
grateful to be here. Happy to serve. Let me know how I can help.
yeah. So, what is the business mission statement that you have?
It's to help people improve themselves, to improve their lives. And the mission statement is to build the most positively impactful, holistic self improvement company in history. And what that means essentially is helping people take personal responsibility for their own bigger, better, brighter future, and then helping them be healthier, wealthier, and more in love. And that's really the underpinnings of everything we do is built on the idea that people who take personal responsibility for their own life can improve their life, and then that ripples outward.
Well said. What is your elevator pitch for business?
Well, it depends what part of the business. So for Next Level University as a whole, it's if you are someone who is humble and grateful and you have high humility, high work ethic, who wants to earn their way to success externally and fulfillment internally, you're gonna love NLU. You're gonna love what we do. If you are someone who is entitled, who wants huge rewards for minimal effort, you're probably not going to like us very much. We both came from very humble beginnings, and we believe in yeah, we believe in hard work a lot. So that's kind of the pitch, for lack of better phrasing, for Next Level University, Next Level U, pun intended. So I'm Alan version 3.6. I'm 36 years old. Kevin, my business partner, he's Kevin version 3.5. He's 35 years old. We started 8 years ago. And my business coaching, that's a different pitch. So we have NLU, PGU, and BGU. So Next Level University is Level Up Yourself. Podcast Growth University, PGU, is for podcasters, level up your podcast. And then Business Growth University, I'm starting this year. I haven't started it yet, but I'm rebranding one of my other shows to Business Growth University, which is level up your business. So we call them listeners, longers, and business owners. Listeners learn from us. Longers want to build their own podcast, their own communities, like yourself. And then business owners, they really need to generate revenue. And so if someone wants to start, grow, scale, monetize a podcast, or start, grow, scale, and monetize a business, some business owners want to start a podcast. Some podcasters want to start a business, and we do all three. So whether you want to improve yourself, improve your podcast, or improve your business, we have something for you. Yeah.
So no nepotism like Bronny James and LeBron James, right?
No
Yeah.
nepotism, because Kevin and I, we grew up without fathers, and we grew up without any sort of generational wealth or any of that. So we started from scratch, started from the bottom. Now we're here, I guess.
Yeah, I get you, man. That's a good song reference. Who is your target audience?
Yeah, well, I kind of mentioned that already, with someone with high humility, high work ethic, who has a sincere desire to earn their way to success and fulfillment, but it's evolved over the years. So in the beginning, we thought it was going to be bodybuilder bros just like us. And it ended up being women who struggle with courage, clarity, and confidence, who want more fulfillment out of their career and their intimate relationships. And then it evolved from there, and now it's more equal. It's probably 70-30 women to men, more women than men. And then it depends, again, my target demographic depends on which part of the business as we've expanded. So the target demographic for Next Level University is anyone who wants to stay inspired, motivated, and educated every single day. We call it 1% improvement in your pocket from anywhere on the planet every single day, completely free. That's Next Level University. But Kevin's a podcast coach and podcast producer. I'm a business coach, and I help people in their businesses. And so for the podcasters, so we help people, individuals who want to grow themselves, podcasters who want to grow their podcast, and business owners who want to grow their business. Anyone who falls into one of those three buckets, and ideally all three buckets, that would be, we have some clients that are all three. They want to grow themselves, their podcast, and their business. That's our target demographic, yeah.
Well said, Alan. What motivated you to become an entrepreneur?
Uh, What motivated me to become an entrepreneur? I think so pre 26. So my story has three kind of main points of it that were very inflection points in my life. The first one, I was 2.5, almost 3. My father passed away in a car accident in 1991. He was 28 years old. I had a stepfather from age 3 to 14. At 14 years old, my stepfather left. Took 90% of the income with him. I haven't seen him or his entire extended family since. And we went from sort of boats and ski trips to, I don't know how I'm going to afford my college. The college I wanted to go to at the time, my dream was to go to WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's kind of like a mini MIT in Massachusetts. And it was $50,000 a year, and this is back then. So I went from I hope I get in to even if I do get in, I don't know how I'm going to go. Bootstrapped my way through high school, straight A's, scholarships and financial aid. Thank you, U.S. for that. No child left behind type of thing, equal opportunity. And graduated with my computer engineering degree, got my master's in business, and then I was off to the races. And I was used to being a broke high school and college student, so once I had a lot of money rolling in, it was easy to bank it. I paid off $84,000 worth of debt in a single year. I had $150,000 in a Vanguard account, just stocks and ETFs, which are index funds essentially, and I just invested all my money because I didn't need much. I drove a 2004 Volkswagen Passat. So then I got in my car accident. So father passed away at 2, stepfather left at 14. I got in a car accident when I was 26. That's when I realized that corporate wasn't really for me. And when you're in corporate, and a lot of people can resonate with this, some people won't. I don't think corporate's a bad thing. I actually think it's a great path for a lot of people. But when you meet your boss's boss's boss and you don't necessarily want their job, you're basically climbing a mountain that you don't even want to get to the top of. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to flip the script. I started a little company called Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. And I really wanted to root for the little guy. I wanted to help people like me who came from very humble beginnings, who needed guidance and maybe didn't have a dad or whatever. And good luck getting speeches at high schools and colleges with that tagline, so that didn't work very well. But then eventually that became the Hyperconscious Podcast, which then eventually became Next Level University. So the reason I became an entrepreneur is because I think when I was younger, I had a job. I think then I had a career in corporate. And so some people have a job, some people have a career, some people have a calling. I think I found my calling when I was 26 after that car accident.
Well said, man. You've been inspiring, man. You endured a lot, man. Then you overcame it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What are some of the most valued lessons you have learned?
Well, the first one is, I think the most important character traits for any individual are self-belief and humility. And I think those two are very hard to walk hand in hand with. Because I was someone who had high self-belief, but I struggled with the humility piece. Kevin was my business partner was the opposite. He had high humility, but he struggled to believe in himself. And so I was sort of the optimistic, future-oriented dream chaser guy, sort of type A personality achiever. And he was sort of the more blue-collar, present moment, character-driven guy. And he needed someone to believe in him, which was me, and I needed someone to sort of unconditionally love me, for lack of better phrasing. So I think some people are afraid not to be loved, especially achievers, because we're very different statistically. And then I think some people need people to believe in them because they don't believe in themselves. And so the answer of the most important lesson is that everyone is fearful, but not of the same thing. So I was fearful of being disliked or villainized or um, hated, and Kevin was fearful of being a failure. So I was kind of afraid that the higher I climbed, the more people wouldn't like me. I never felt like an easily likable person. And Kev feels super likable, feels super relatable, but he was afraid he wouldn't be successful. And so usually everyone has one of those two fears. Either you're afraid of success or of failure. So the ceiling is success, the floor is failure. So we're all kind of stuck. And we want to be successful, but not so successful that our peers ostracize us. And we don't want to be a failure, but we want to make sure that we fit into the group. We're all trying to get belonging. And so we want to make sure we're successful enough so that we're not a failure amongst our peers, but we're not so successful that we get ostracized from the group. And that can be really challenging. So that's why our peer group is so important. And so self-belief and humility rarely walk hand in hand, but they need to. They need to. So I figured out if I have self-belief at 10 out of 10 in this direction, I better have built humility at 10 out of 10 in the other direction in order to stay centered. And that's been really hard. And that's as I've matured as a man in my 30s, I think I've come to realize the value of humility. It's really, really important. And not outward humility necessarily, but like inward humility, working on yourself every day and making sure that you're doing the work. Because once you become more and more and more successful, it can become really easy to get arrogant.
Like a lot of people in Hollywood, they get big head and can't nobody tell them anything no more. It's
Yeah,
like, I'm
exactly.
rich. What are you talking about? My life's great.
Yeah. Well, those people
So,
unfortunately won't be fulfilled because humility is required for growth. Yeah.
yeah, you got to humble yourself. You
Got to.
got to, no ego. You got to check your ego at the door in order to be successful. It's like sports. You
Exactly.
can't win with all 10 CEOs in the kitchen.
100%.
How do you build and manage a successful team?
Yeah, hardest thing in the entire world right there. So I have a 17-person team now. And at the peak, so 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, we had a 4-year run of averaging 119% growth year over year in revenue. So big years. I mean, it was buy it, do it, run it, buy it, whatever, right? And that's a lot of success. That's great. But we expanded. So two ways a business fails. One is they grow too slow. That's the majority. The second one is they grow too fast. And that's a great problem to have, but it's scary if you don't stay humble, to my point earlier. And so we overexpanded. We had 24 people and we had 24 departments and a charity. And we brought on a lot of the wrong people, and it was all momentum, and we kind of lost ourselves a bit. And so we went from 119% growth year over year to 18% and then 11%. So we had to contract a bit. And we needed to get focused, and we needed to get humble, and we needed to focus on the priorities. And so we now only have 13 departments. We have 17-person team. And the most important thing I've learned about how to build and scale a team is they have to have common core values. They have to. No one's going to value you. It's almost like if you have parents that love football and you're really good at football, you'll get more attention than the violinist. Just by default, because the parents value football more than violin. And I think as a team with a self-improvement company, if someone has a lot of entitlement, for example, and they come onto the team that is full of people who want to earn their way, it doesn't work. It kind of messes things up. So for me, we look out for people that are entitled and have inflated self-worth and who have big egos. We try really hard to not work with people like that. And to your point earlier when I talked about who is our target demographic, that's also who we look for on a team as well. People with high humility and high work ethic who want to earn their way up the mountain. They don't want to be given anything. Those are our people. Those are our people. And the people who, play the social status game and want to be seen as better than they are and want big rewards for minimal effort, like that stuff doesn't work for us. So You got to figure out who your people are, and you got to most importantly figure out who your people are not, like who is not for you. And once you figure out who's not for you, now you can protect the castle, so to speak.
Well said, because I was a brand ambassador for this dating app called Gather Social, and the thing is, it was like a dating site, for you to meet people when you were single. It didn't work out because it didn't have enough support behind it.
I'm sorry to hear it didn't work out.
Yeah, well, I was a brand ambassador. It was to help single people because there's a lot of single people on this earth.
Yeah.
That's trying to meet people and stuff because it's hard to talk to people with social media and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what are your core values?
So for the company or me personally?
You personally.
The first one is legacy, and I'll define them too, because I think labels are interesting, and you gotta, what do they mean to you is what matters, right? So legacy is the first one, which is a deep belief in having a long-term positive impact far beyond your own life. The second one is rationality, which is a deep belief in logic and deductive reasoning and accurate thinking. That's the engineer in me. And then the third one is potential, which is a deep belief in what humans are capable of and what is truly possible for human beings. And those three are my core values. And then those obviously leak into the company as well.
Well said. What are your biggest fears?
Going deep. So my biggest fears.
That's what I do, Alan.
That's you got to. So the biggest fear, I think, and again, this I didn't realize until later on in my late 20s, early 30s. I think I'm fearful of what has been hard for me. I think there's two worlds that we all live in. I think there's the social world, and I think there's the real world. The real world is who I am off this camera with these lights off, with my beautiful girlfriend, with my pets, like my real life. Who I am in the gym when I'm by myself. That's the real world. But then there's the social world, and the social world is your reputation, what people think about you, what people say about you, branding, marketing, sales, all that. And for me, what's been really hard for me is the higher and higher, the more capable that I've become in the real world, in achieving the person I aspire to be, the harder my social world has become. So for example, there's these 30 intimidation factors. I did some research about intimidation and what that is and all that kind of stuff. And I had Kevin break down, so it breaks down 30 intimidation factors, basically signs that you have an intimidating personality. And I had Kevin, my business partner, rate me from 0 to 10 on each of them. And he gave me a 9.5. So I added them all up, divided by 300, and my average was 9.5. And that doesn't include being tall or any of that kind of stuff. So one of them is strong eye contact, clear core values, being very goal-oriented, that kind of stuff. Leadership qualities, really, is what it comes down to. And what I've found is that when I got this list, I realized that these are qualities that I'm actually trying to dial up. I'm trying to have a stronger presence. I'm trying to be more direct in my communication. I'm trying to be more intellectually sound. I'm trying to get smarter and stronger and more capable and more aware and stronger belief systems and more morals and ethics. And I realized that when I was younger, when I was 26, I'll be quick with this, but I used to believe, okay, people don't like me, and if I become a better man, they'll like me more. And that has been alarmingly untrue. So I work on myself and I try to become a better man. And so I've learned to like and love myself more, because I think when we work on ourselves, we end up with self-love, authentic self-love rather than ego. But unfortunately, our social life can sometimes be harmed by that, because now you become a mirror. And some of the friends from my past, I no longer have a lot in common with. And maybe I'm intimidating or whatever. So at the end of the day, The deepest fear for me in the past was being alone and being at the top of the mountain metaphorically and being alone. That's no longer a huge fear for me because my beautiful girlfriend Emilia, when I met her, she's the most growth oriented person I've ever met in my entire life, so I'm not afraid to outgrow her. She has bigger goals and dreams than I do, so I feel good. And I'm not nearly as afraid of that anymore. However, I think that core wound, that core fear, I think everyone has a core fear. And I think that the more we can have courage to overcome that, the more we can become the person we're meant to be. Because none of us are going to reach our potential if we allow fear to hold us back.
Well said, man. I used to be the same way, care about people think about me because people always gonna have a judgment on earth and stuff,
Always.
Yeah, with social media, it's more heightened because they actually could talk to you, or they could troll you, They can do
100%.
none of this stuff. They don't got to put a name on it at all. And then when you're in the spotlight in the media, you got to deal with a lot of stuff too.
Yep. Well, you give a speech in front of 1,000 people, now you have 1,000 reputations, but you still only have one character. And I've tried really hard to work on the character and not the reputation. And that
Yeah,
goes back to the real world versus the social world. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm tall too, Alan. I'm black and I'm tall, and people think I'm intimidated, but I'm not.
Yeah. I see you.
People always don't think things on earth. A lot of times people are more negative than positive, and they more irrational than rational about things.
Agreed. Unfortunately, yes.
So, what does personal growth mean to you?
I think personal growth is a journey where you set a goal externally and then you inevitably face challenges toward that goal, which force you to either grow or contract. And so if you're achieving your goals through social status, you're not necessarily growing. However, if they're authentic goals of the heart and in alignment, something you feel called to, not vanity goals, but real goals, I think they're going to force you to they're going to force you to face your fears. They're going to force you to grow. They're going to force you to learn. They're going to force you to humble yourself. They're going to force you to believe in yourself more. And I think that the mountains we climb metaphorically show us more and more of who we really are and what we're really capable of. And I think that that's the point of this journey. And so to me, growth is like the point. Like goals are great, but what's the goal of the goal? So we crossed 1 million listens. We crossed $1 million actually pretty much at the same time, which was kind of mathematically wild to me. But 2,000 episodes, 175 countries, 17-person team, 100 plus clients now. Probably a little less, 97 clients. And in the beginning, it was crickets, right? We didn't have any clients. We didn't have any success. I mean, we coached for free. And you achieve goals, right? And so do I. And I think goals are good. But what's the goal of the goal? The goal of the goal is growth. Because there's two types of adversity in the world. There's the adversity that happens to you. I had a lot of that growing up. And then there's the adversity that comes from setting and aiming at high goals. And to me, I'd rather set goals and have those adversities that force me to grow than just kind of sit around waiting for life to happen to me. Yeah, so growth, that's what growth means to me, is it's the purpose of goals and it's the purpose of life in many regards, yeah.
Well, you got to have a plan because a goal without a plan is not a good goal. They got to be obtainable. You got to be reasonable.
Smart
It's
goals.
like, yeah, it's like you going to a burning building, you need help, you need a fire extinguisher. You ain't gonna go in a burning building because you're gonna die. You got to have a plan going into the building.
Yeah, well, there's the quote, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's like, well, it depends. It depends. I think that if you have high self-belief and you're willing to fail forward and you set a goal and then you fall on your face, and there's that saying, fall down 7 times, get up 8. First of all, that's impossible because if you fall down 7 times, you can only get up 7 times mathematically, by the way, which I think is funny. But ultimately, I think that goals that are meaningful create growth. And yes, you need a plan, but you got to plan on the plan not going to plan for sure.
Yeah, but it was nice having you on, Alan, man. Appreciate you. I heard you was very good guest to have on. You got 5-star ratings with a couple people on Matchmaker, so that's all. Like, I gotta have this guy on.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And for anyone who is watching or listening, thank you as well. I don't take it lightly to speak into the lives of other people. I think that that's an honor, and I think it has to be earned because what you pay attention to is definitely influencing your future in a big way. So I don't take that lightly. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm grateful we did it.
Thank you.
Cool. One sec. Let me